Ladies and gentlemen, you should be most welcome to Jimodism Total Nerdery channel. Today we will take a look at missiles. Yes, we're going to do one of those little simple missile tutorials for beginners. So we'll only make one type of missile and I just briefly explain its features. So let us dive into here, and of course, to be able to launch any weapon we need some kind of AI. So let's spawn a quite simple AI with just some connectors and a radar 360 there, so we can have a simple detection. And why not throw on some simple trackers as well. Beautiful. Here we have a nice little AI. So let's move over here where we will build our little missile. Now, missiles have basically an infinite amount of different types. There is even a lot of different pre-built missiles that you can check out. So you might get a little bit confused on what type of missile to make, and that's basically where this little guide comes in. I wish to show you some pretty nice ways you can make a missile that kind of almost always works. So let us make a little platform here where we will have our missiles on. We will make vertical launch missiles just because they are a little bit more willing to cooperate. Or rather, they're much simpler to set up. That's why we make them, and they're pretty reliable. So I'm going to show you this one type of setup that mostly usually works pretty well. So I made a little platform of missile connectors, and this is our platform. This connects to all our parts so we can build our missile on it. We of course also need one of these, a missile controller. This is basically the main piece that controls the missile system. So we also want to have a identify friend or foe add-on. This little piece will make it so that radar, sonar and seeking missiles won't hit our own targets. So it's quite important to have that module on these type of missiles. Then we also have this little staggered fire module, and we can place it over there. Staggered fire makes it so that the missiles fire with a slight little delay, which have several purposes. It makes them not collide in the air because there is the chance of something happening like that, and it looks cool basically. And you can of course set this to any amount of delay you want. And to be able for the missiles to even fire, well, we need a local weapon controller. So we go down to the AI, and I just push it in right in this design here, just so that I can save this as a nice template. Now, the missile controller is the block that it needs to be close, and it needs to be beside it or with one block in between. So we can place it here, for example. And of course, we need to connect it up with a wireless receiver so the AI can control it all. And of course, for that, we actually need a transmitter on the AI. There we go. Now we can see it's gone green or blue. Right, and now we can just right now set up some settings here. In the local weapon controller, we have a range and altitude bracket. Missiles like these we won't have torpedo propellers on them, so we can make it just target things that are above waterline or slightly below. And then we also have the altitude bracket. This should be able to reach a while, so we don't need to change that. But we have the range bracket. Let's set this to, of course it depends how we set it up, how long they reach, but let's say 2000 meters, so we don't waste any unnecessary missiles, because they, if they can't reach the targets, it's just a waste of ammunition. And when we're talking about that, resources, missiles take a lot of ammunition. So make sure to have a little pile of ammo ready to be able to make your missiles be launchable. Yes. if they can't reload and you only can fire them once, they're also not very useful. Now, there are different sizes. We have large missiles, like that. We have medium missiles, and medium missiles are pretty useful, like that. So they're basically 1 block wide, and then we have small missiles. Now we're going to make a little spamming platform, so we will select and make small batteries with small missiles. So we begin with placing down launchers like this, and then we can add gantries on top of this. So now you have a little beautiful pattern here. And then we also have, of course, Ejector Atom. This is a little piece that we can add one onto each of these, and we can make them fly up in the air very nicely. So let me just place these here so we can have some, you know, it's a air pressure thing. It just whoosh, makes them launch, and it will give us a higher curve as well, which will make us approach our enemies in a little better angle too. So I think it really helps. You can have up to 4 per module, but or as many you can stick on there basically. But yeah, we don't need like to fill them. Well, 1 ejector should be enough, but I realized that because of my setup, I just removed one of the launchers in the corners here, so each of them could have 1 ejector. Oh well, now we should proceed. And there was one setting more we might as well set up straight away. We go back to our missile controller here. And here we have required accuracy before firing. And well, we only want range, because we're going to set up our missiles in a way that they'll hit anyways. So set this to 180 and it will just fire. Beautiful. Right, so then now that we have that out of the way here, we can use different settings here. I find that continuous is probably the nicest one, but that's whatever you want. Right, then we go back to our small missiles, and we have small gantries. And well, the gantries, they are in such a way that we can just put them onto the launchers here, and it will make our missiles longer. We also have hashed gantry, which has some doors, which we can put on top here. Now, there is also, you know, there is like door versions for the bigger versions as well. And the small missiles, they actually have rails, rail gantries as well, which you'll need to put on a rail launcher, I believe. And that's more lightweight. Could be nice if you have them under an airplane or something like that. Anyways, let us add gantries to a convenient height. Whoops, like that. And you see they care if they're upside down. So if something doesn't connect, it's usually the wrong way. You can see missiles are like popping up when we are making this bigger. So we'll have kind of quite long missiles. I think this will do. So let me fill out the rest. Like that. And the beautiful thing with the small missiles is that you can really make a spamming structure that just throws out a lot of missiles, and it's really satisfying. You can see if you go in here, you actually get a little suggestion on a missile, and of course you can just use the suggestion here, but it's usually better to set up your own little model here, of course. So let's go into one of these and let's look at what we can set up. So we have the variable thruster. I find that the variable thruster is mostly reliable, so let's have a variable thruster. Now, when shooting against the smaller air targets, there is a small possibility that your missile will just fall down into the water and it will be pretty helpless. To fix that problem, you can put on a secondary torpedo propeller, which is a little torpedo propeller that just, you know, propels the missile in the water as well. Here we have fins. fins is the main steering feature. So, fins are nice. The more you have, the more maneuverable it will be. So I think we'll have, 4 fins could be nice for this one. You can kind of set how many stuff you want of each to kind of, balance it out a little bit. But there is one little thing here. We have something called one turn. This is a very nice module that turns your missile towards your enemy. And you really want a one turn when you have a vertical launch missile like this that also fires in any direction. Just if we see a target within 2,000 meters, we shoot up the missiles, and then we want the one turn, so it actually just faces the enemy straight away. Alright, and then we also have a beautiful little module called a Regulator. This extends the lifetime of the missile to make it not disappear. You can see on the right of my screen we have a lot of stats. Here we have lifetime. This missile will be alive for 40 seconds. If we have another Regulator, it will be alive for a full minute, which is pretty nice. You can also see the health, reload time, ammo cost, everything like this right here. So it can be quite useful to check these statistics to be able to help you set up a nice missile. Because we have so much space in a small missile, we can put on a lot of fun stuff as well. We have a signal processor, and a signal processor makes it so that decoy missiles will fool us less often, which is nice. So stick that in there. Then we have fuel tanks. We need a couple of fuel tanks. We can even see, if we see the statistic here, we can see fuel like this, and we have fuel per second, thrust duration. It can thrust for basically almost more than a full minute. If we go to the variable thruster, we can change the thrust per second, which will make, if we have a slower speed of the missiles, the top speed will of course go down. When we have a better, when we have more thrust per second, the fuel consumption and speed, everything like that goes up, but also the thrust duration doesn't go up too much. So we can match this thrust to exactly the lifetime of the missile. So they're pretty nicely matched there. All right. And just to look at some other stuff you can have here, you can have a magnet too if you want it to draw towards the enemy when it's kind of out of fuel. You could do that as well. Useful for bombs, by the way. And then we have sticky flares to make IR missiles be confused. You can add stuff like that as well. Anyways, let's move on to the warheads. We have EMP, explosive, and fragmentation. You can have a lot of stuff. You can even have combinations. I think that explosive, just pure explosive, works pretty well. Never wrong to throw some EMP on there, but if you put explosive on a thing, you know what it's going to do. Then we have your type of detection. We have lots of different detection types here. And reactive radar seeker is what I would use for a long to close distance anything. When we have a vertical launch missile with one turn. I find that radar seeker seems to work best for me. And here we can see we have free internal space used for fuel. We can change this to anything we want, basically. But you can see if we change this, our thrust duration goes down to less than our lifetime, which is a problem. So let us keep that to fuel. And now our missiles should be set up. You can even go and save this in a new slot. Wow. And you can load it. Whoops. If you want to have it on future ones. But since we're building on the same entity here, we can go down and copy to all matching launch pads. Oh, and we have a little guidance delay and warhead arming delay. So let us make them first get armed after 1.5 seconds. And you have some other stats here. We have a guidance activation delay. So since we are going to throw them up in the air, it could be probably nice to delay the guidance by almost a second. Right, then we have this beautiful button. Copy to all matching launch pads. Now all the missiles are the same and we don't need to manually load them in there. Pretty nice. Alright, since I hope this will be efficient launching missile, I will make a prefab. And to make a prefab, you go in there and you just select the size of this thing. And let's see here. You of course need to cover the entire thing. But I forgot a little thing. Yes, let's see here. Because missiles are a little bit valuable and you don't want them to blow up, it could be a good idea to actually protect them a little bit. And of course, it's probably also a good idea to go into missiles and add these hatched gantries. If you add a hatched gantry, it will be even longer. But if you add a hatched gantry on there, like that, and we go in here to this correct missile and select copy to matching launch pads, these are now the same as they were again. So, but yeah, it's a good idea, but I don't think it looks as cool, so I will not have this little hatch gantry on this, but it's a good idea to have. What I will do, however, is to add one layer of metal like this, so we can have a flush fitting. There we go. Now it's all a little bit protected and the entire thing won't blow up if we get hit. We have some internal and external armor like a covering shell, and if one of the modules go out, the entire thing shouldn't blow up. And this is a smart thing to do, you know, because missiles, they are not enormously expensive, but they still cost, you know, the small missile, yeah. These launchers cost almost 1,000, so, you know, it is expensive, basically. Anyways, let's go back to prefab mode and to this little mode here, and let me just make this a nice size. Perfect fit. Then we can capture the prefab, and we can, oops, here we have, save the prefab, and select a nice name. I named it the Doom Cube. Beautiful. Anyways, let's hope it's all set up and just let's test it straight away with a Marauder. You can see they turn in the air. Activation is activated a little bit up and they start towards the enemy. Oh no, we died. Well, the Marauder is pretty obliterated. Unfortunately, we didn't see the entire process. We just need to rebuild our layer a little bit. Yes, beautiful. You can see the missiles slowly popping in here and eating up all our ammunition. And they're pretty ammunition hungry, you know. Missiles are very ammunition hungry. And that's because if they weren't, they would be so good that you wouldn't need to use any other weapon, which was the case before, kind of. So that's why. Oh yes. And now we're spamming a lot of missiles there. Here we can see a missile that had a little sad launching curve. And that is because its ejector is broken. Well, I must say, our system is pretty efficient. Let's see if we repair that now. Nice. Let's just spawn a new enemy for the fun of it. And the AI is working. And by the way, if you are holding fire, it might be the case that you are accidentally controlling the missiles yourself. And if you're, hold the control and you'll fire, or just scroll a little bit so you're not controlling it anymore. Here we can see a few of the missiles miss the target, and because they can't seek behind them, they will just, they're lost children. But here comes the second volley, and well, it's not completely obliterated yet. Sometimes fragmentation can be pretty useful against metal. But nothing wrong with explosive missiles. Well, in any case, I hope that this little tutorial has helped you make a beautiful missile launcher. Vertical launch missiles that can take out all your enemies. So beautiful. Now we're just manually spamming them out. Wow. Well, see you in future videos. This is Jim Total Nerdery channel, officially signing out.